All right, today we are diving deep into Michael Swan's practical English usage to tackle probably the single most important verb in the entire English language, the verb be. We're going to get the hang of its three main present tense forms, am, is, and are. Look, this stuff is absolutely key to sounding fluent, so let's just jump right in. So let me start with a quick question for you. Think about all the words you use every single day. Which verb do you think is not only the most common one, but also the most, well, the weirdest, the most irregular one? It literally hides in plain sight in almost every conversation you have. Any guesses? You got it. It's the verb be. It's the absolute backbone of so many sentences, but its different forms can totally trip up even people who've been speaking English for years. So getting a handle on this isn't just helpful, it's something you've just got to do. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to properly meet the verb be and see why it's so special. Then, we'll cover the golden rule for using am, is, and are. After that, we'll actually build some sentences. And finally, we'll look at how be shows up in real everyday speech, including a few common traps you'll want to avoid. Okay, so what is it that makes be so special anyway? Well, for starters, a lot of the time it acts as what we call an auxiliary verb. The easiest way to think about it is as a helper verb. It works with other main verbs to give our sentences the right structure. So an auxiliary verb is basically a helper. You see it all the time. Take a question like, is it raining? The main action there is rain, right? But the word is, that's our little helper verb. It's what lets us actually form the question and talk about something that's happening right now. And in that sense, be is pretty much the ultimate helper verb. But wait, be isn't just a helper. It can also be the star of the show. It's the main verb we use when we want to describe things, like states of being, who someone is, or what something is like. You know, sentences like, I am happy, or she is a doctor. In those cases, be is right there in the middle, stating a fact that's true in this moment. Okay, now we're getting to the most important part, the golden rule. The entire key to using be correctly in the present tense is making sure you match the right form, am, is, or are, to the right subject. And this isn't just a friendly suggestion. This is one of those hard and fast rules in English. And this table right here breaks it all down. It's actually super simple once you see it laid out. I always goes with am. I am tired. You, and it doesn't matter if you're talking to one person or 100 people, always takes are. You are right. Now for he, she, or it, we always use is. She is a doctor. And then for the plurals, we and they, we go right back to are. We are ready. They are here. Seriously, this table is your new best friend. So once you get that golden rule down, you can start putting sentences together. And the best part is, the patterns for making statements, questions, and even negative sentences are incredibly predictable. They're actually really easy to learn. For a basic positive statement, the recipe is as simple as it gets. Subject first, then the right be verb, and then whatever else you want to say. So he, that pairs with is, and then you add a doctor. He is a doctor. Boom. Simple and direct. But what if you want to ask a question? This is where English does a pretty cool little trick. All you do is you flip the subject and the verb. So instead of he is, you start with the verb. Is he a doctor? That little flip, that inversion, is the key to basically every question you'll ever ask using the verb be. And you can see that flip perfectly on this slide. Look on the left, we've got our statements. She is a dentist. They are ready. Now look at the right, at the question forms. Is she a dentist? Are they ready? See that? The verb just hops right to the front of the line. That's the whole trick right there. And what about making sentences negative? Oh, that's even easier. You just keep the same word order as a regular statement, so subject, then verb, and you just slide the word not right in after the be verb. She is not a dentist. They are not ready. It's that simple. Okay, so we've got the rules down. That's the textbook stuff. Now let's talk about how people actually speak. Because in natural, everyday conversation, we use all kinds of shortcuts to make things sound smoother. And there are a couple of common areas where it's really easy to get stuck. And the number one shortcut, by far, is the contraction. This is just a fancy word for smashing two words together to make them shorter and faster to say. So instead of saying I am, which sounds a bit robotic, we almost always just say I'm. It makes your speech flow and sound way more natural. And here are the most common ones you'll hear and use all the time. You're right just sounds so much better than you are right. He's a doctor is way more conversational than he is a doctor. Oh, and a big one to watch out for is it's. Just remember, the one with the apostrophe, it', always means it is. And of course, we do the exact same thing with negatives. He is not becomes he isn't. They are not becomes they aren't. These are incredibly common. Seriously, getting comfortable using these is a huge step towards sounding more fluent. Okay, let's talk about one of the most common mistakes I hear. And I mean, I hear this from everyone, even really advanced speakers. It almost always happens when we start a sentence with the word there. Here's the deal. The verb you use has to agree with the noun that comes after it. So if you're talking about just one thing, a single item, you have to use there is. For example, there is a hole, one hole. But if you're talking about more than one thing, multiple items, you've got to use there are. There are some grapes. See? One hole is, multiple grapes are. Now, just to make things interesting, English has a very common exception here, but only in informal speech. You will hear native speakers say theirs all the time, even when they're talking about plural things. Like in the example, there's 2 policemen at the door. Now, grammatically, that should be there are. But honestly, theirs gets used like this constantly in casual chat. It's good to know the official rule, but also to know how it gets bent in the real world. So if you only take one single thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. At the end of the day, mastering am, is, and are is all about that fundamental pairing. Match the subject to the verb. I am, you are, she is, we are, they are. That right there is the foundation for everything. And that brings us to the end. But the real work starts now. So my question for you is this. How are you going to consciously use am, is, or are today? Maybe you'll notice them in a song you're listening to, or maybe you'll try to describe something you see using the right form. Go out there and put it to use. Thanks for joining me.